Today I'm going to answer the question, why do people buy these BMWs, even knowing that they become endless money pits? Okay, they're sharp looking cars, no doubt in that. They handle really well, and this particular one, it's a 2008 335i, puts out over 300 horsepower because it's got twin turbos, 2 turbochargers on it. Check this out. Underneath the hood, underneath all this plastic crap, there's a 6-cylinder engine with 2 turbochargers that puts out 301 horsepower. They really go. There's no arguing it. They drive fast. They handle really well. They are also endless money pits. Okay, we'll start out with this car. The first owner paid $44,500 for it, and in his 45,000 miles of owning the car, spent over $10,000 on maintenance. If you notice, this baby no longer has the run flat tires. It came with run flat tires. Guess what? Every time you hit a big bump in a pothole, and there's tons around here in Houston, it would end up cracking the very expensive aluminum wheels that had to be replaced. Rode like crap. Now they handle perfectly fine, but you buy a car like this for handling, speed, and ride comfort. The owner now, he put on these normal tires, not the run flat, and truth be told, it rides a lot better. But then again, that was after the original owner spent a ton of money on wheels as they cracked and broke. You don't pay that kind of money for a car and expect the wheels to crack. I still got the original wheels of my 94 Celica. You know, I have hit stuff, and sometimes they bent some, but I'd bend them back again. I've never bought a rim for any of my cars. Now, getting 301 horsepower out of this straight 6-cylinder engine, turbochargers are on it. It's got a very fancy fuel injection system, but unfortunately on BMWs, that stuff breaks all the time. And look at the working room, or should I say, lack of working room. There is very little working room on these vehicles. And everything is plastic, not just the covers. All these plastic hoses going to the radiator and to the turbochargers. That stuff all rots and cracks as they age. So you might think, oh, it's just plastic. Hey, plastic is cheap. Well, in this case, it may be cheaply built, but it's not cheaply priced. Plus, some of the stuff, if it breaks on the bottom side of the engine, you got to take half the car off to get to it if you can even see where the leak is in the first place. These things become endless repair nightmares as they age. Now my customer here is the second owner. The original owner paid $44,500 for the car, then spent 10 grand in repairs and maintenance the first 45,000 miles of ownership. Well, my customer bought it with 45,000 miles on it for $13,500. Look at the money the original guy lost. Whoa, I'd be sweating bullets losing that kind of money in a stupid car. Even he said he's thinking about getting rid of it because he's had to spend thousands on repairs in the 20,000 miles that he's driven the car. So why do people buy them? Well, it's the lure of BMWs. That's why. They're beautiful looking. They're fast. They drive really nice when they are working. Well, here's another reason people buy them. Watch this. Looks like a hardtop, but voila! It magically hides itself away. Takes a few seconds, but it's rather ingenious. I must give them that. Look at that. Now what do you have? A beautiful convertible. And you don't have all that nonsense of the rag top blowing in the wind when it's up and leaking. You got a full metal roof. And then when you get bored with that, guess what? Push another button. It puts itself back up. As you can see, it doesn't take all that much time. It is a good idea to have the car stopped when you do it, though. You don't want the wind blowing it back. Oh, the ingenious Germans. Now, of course, all that technology comes at a price, and the price is when it breaks, whoo, you start throwing out $1,000 bills left, right, and center to fix the thing. And being modern German technology, yes, they do break. I guess their theory is, if you gotta ask how much it costs to fix the roof, Now it does have a good transmission. 6-speed German-made automatic. They made over 7 million variants of it for various cars. It is a good transmission. But unfortunately you can't get it in any modern cars because they stopped making that unit in 2014. 6 years ago they stopped making those units. But those 6-speed ZF transmissions were pretty good units. As much economy as you're going to get out of a 301 horsepower dual turboed engine. Most people aren't going to get such hot gas mileage driving this thing because they're going to be driving it fast. This one is rated at 17 miles a gallon in the city, but you're not going to get that. When I had one for a week, I averaged about 7 miles a gallon in the thing. I was driving it hard, mind you, but hey, with those dual turbos and 301 horsepower, if you like putting your pedal to the metal, you can get horrible gas mileage. So I can understand why people buy them, at least emotionally. Kind of like the apple in the Garden of Eden. Tempting. But if you take a bite of this BMW apple, odds are your universe is going to turn into an endless money pit universe in a relatively short period of time. If not right away, assuming you're buying a used one with some mileage on it. So in the case of this beautiful BMW hardtop, yet convertible, be careful what you wish for. You might get it. Here we got a 12-year-old BMW that isn't running right. No surprise there, it's running like crap. Check engine lights on, so let's scan it. The scanner up to the data port, and what does it say? P0306. Cylinder number 6 misfire detected. Now a misfire in any one cylinder can be a whole bunch of things. It can be the ignition system, the fuel system, a blowing head gasket, a bad valve, all kinds of stuff. But always start basically. We're gonna go to number 6 and see what's going on there. Now being a BMW, you can't even see the spark plug, so we gotta take this plastic crap off. In this case, it's a 5mm hex head. We'll take these stupid things off. Oh, it makes them look so great, doesn't it? It just makes it a pain to work on. Plain stupidity, some of these designs. You gotta take half of this stuff apart to access it to get it off. Another brilliant German design. So we'll take these clips off. More over here. Get this out of the way. Then we can slide the cover up and get to the spark plugs up here. And the number 6 is hiding way back here, so we'll check that first. And now you can see why I think so little of BMWs, modern ones. Look, all plastic crap. This is all plastic crap. You gotta pull the little line off of the coil, and then it's theoretically just pulls out. But these are stuck because they're 12 years old, and they're gonna be cows to get out. Plastic, old age, heat on the engine. And then the stupid cover on top of it to hold the heat in even more, so the plastic retains the heat and cracks even more. Let's hope nothing breaks when we take it off, but don't be surprised if a bunch of this plastic crap starts snapping off in your hands. You'll just have to replace it then. You gotta pull the coils up. Not an easy thing to do. It's all plastic, and it may crack, and you're just gonna have to buy a new ignition coil if it does. My trick is to get a big pry bar, start to pry them out, because they're sitting in there. There's no bolt holding them in like a better made Toyota where the coils are bolted on. These are just placed in. But that rubber and plastic, hey, it's been on there for 12 years, so it's often really hard to get off, and you'll often break stuff. But here goes nothing. We'll try some prying and praying. Praying and prying. Getting a little looser. Still won't come out though. Now it is easy to work on the front one, so I got the front one out, and there's a point to this. If I ever do get the back number 6 one off without breaking it, what I'm gonna do is check the spark plug, see if the spark plug's okay, and then I'm gonna put the number 2 coil here on number 6 and number 6 on number 2. And if the misfire moves to number 2, then we'll know it's just an ignition coil. It's as simple as that when you only have one misfire for one cylinder. If you finally get the spark plug ignition coil off, you'll see they have weird spark plugs. Typical BMW crap. You see, they're not regular hex heads, they got these crenulations. But fortunately, if you have a 14mm socket, it does fit over it. You do not have to go to BMW to buy a fancy socket. A plain old 14mm socket will work to get it off. Of course, a crenulated one works better, but here's a plain old regular hex one. You wiggle it, it goes right on. It'll hold it and take it off. You don't have to buy that special tool. But you gotta have a 14mm thin wall deep socket or you'll never get the stupid thing out. It's not a regular size spark plug. Now with a ton of wiggling and prying and then wiggling to get it off, because of course there's no working room in the back of the engine, out comes the stupid number 6 ignition coil. There it is. Now of course it could be a bad spark plug, so I'm going to take that spark plug out and put a new one in just in case. Now even that's a chore. Not much working room, and I've had to put 3 different size extensions in to get it deep enough, but it seems to be coming loose. And yes, I can turn it with my bare hands now. A lot of work. Voila, finally. And as you can see here, I had to have various wiggling extensions. So I put it in with just a short one. Then when that falls in, you put this on top so you can get the socket and get your ratchet to take it off. But then when you pull it out, it won't come out. So you got to pull it out part way, then take off that end, then get the rest with the spark plug. Now, it doesn't look horrendous, but all the work on this, I'm not taking a chance. Maybe it's bad electrically inside, so I'm just going to replace it with a new one. Just be sure to replace it with the same plug. These are both Bosch plugs. Now, we'll tighten the new spark plug in. No working room, of course. In this case, I'm using the stubby ratchet because there's more room for tightening up quicker. It still takes a while, but you can see the stubby one you can turn fast. Then for the final part, use the big one. And now comes the logical part. This is the number 6 ignition coil. I'm going to put that on number 2 and put number 2 on number 6. Then when we drive it, if the code goes to number 2, you'll know it was the coil that caused the problem in the whole place. You don't want to guess with these things. They're pretty expensive on BMWs. So before I forget, I'm going to put the number 6 on a number 2 right now. In it goes. They go in a lot easier than they come out. They just plug in a hole and then the connector just snaps in and you lock it with the top. Then we got to do it in the back. I can't film that, there's no room, but it's the same process. Then we use a scan tool to erase the codes. As you can see, codes remaining 0. And start it up. Just don't forget to put the air filter back on. Make sure that's all tight. Well, here goes nothing. Well, hopefully something. Now we'll take it for a spin and see what happens. Well, that didn't take long. The check engine light already's come back on. So let's see what the magic computer says. And magically enough, it now says P0302, cylinder number 2, misfire. Hooray! We didn't fix it yet, but now we know it's the ignition coil. Because we put the number 6 ignition coil on a number 2, and the misfire moved from number 6 to number 2. So we know that coil's bad. We'll go put a coil in it. So we get the brand new coil and swap out number 2 again. So this time we'll just move this out of the way a little. Unplug it. Out it comes. And here goes the new one back in the hole. Plug it in. Make sure it's lined up right and snap it in place. There we go. Put the stupid bolts back on. Ridiculous covers. I don't know why they even bother. And this time we should have better luck. Sounds a lot better already. No more of that backfiring. Well, we gotta take it for a road test anyway. And as you can see now, it's idling smooth, but watch, when you step on the gas, it goes. No more hesitation. So the next time your BMW or any other car starts misfiring, now you know how you can fix it yourself. You might think a BMW is a good car to buy. Yes, they are packed full of modern technology, but that's the reason I tell people not to buy these BMWs. Because under the hood are layers and layers of technology. And as you can see, the hood struts don't even work anymore. Those are broken. So we'll get our plastic stick out. Yeah. Old technology for new technology. Let's take this BMW as an example, and pretty much a sterling example of the high technology and the problems they have. This is a 2008 335i. It has all the bells and whistles. It's a straight 6-cylinder engine, but it puts out 300 horsepower using technology. It's an inline 6, kind of an old design. It has 2 turbochargers on it to make it have power. And if they go bad, and bad they do, the turbochargers are over $3,000 a piece, over $2,000 labor, so you're looking at over $8 grand if they go bad. Now, the original owner of this car paid $45,000 up for this thing. And my customer bought it for $13,500 and it had like 40,000 miles on it. So you think, oh, what a deal. Well, the price alone tells you it's not a deal. Before he met me, he said, Scotty, I thought I was getting a deal, but then every time I take it in, it's $1,000 for this, $2,000 for that. Now, yes, they are maintenance-heavy vehicles. They cost a lot of money to maintain. Anybody who actually knows how to work on these has to have some extremely sophisticated equipment that costs a ton of money. And as far as I'm concerned, a lot of it has to do with the overuse of plastics in these things. One of the first companies used plastic for just about everything. With these BMWs, it doesn't matter the mileage, age destroys the plastics. Heat of the engine under the hood, the stuff cracks and comes apart. If you ever have to work on one of these when it gets to be older, this one's 12 years old now, you gotta be really careful working around the engine, because you can easily start snapping off plastic parts. They're so brittle. And then when you find these little plastic parts cost $300, $500, some of them well over $1,000 when you include labor, because you got to take half the car apart to get to them. These things are notorious for getting oil leaks around the oil filter. You might think, oh, no big deal, they're just gaskets in there. Well, some of these things, it's over $1,000 labor taking all the crap off to get to the stupid gasket. Now, in the case of this particular one, it's here because it's not shifting right. Now, I have equipment for this stuff, and as you can see, we're now in the transmission. You can check variables, shifting, you can check solenoids, you can see what the adaptation values are, even find all the code numbers so you can look it up if perhaps there's a recall for your particular vehicle. Most guys that have this equipment, they're paying a ton for the stuff. You're going to pay a ton to have your car worked on. And a lot of guys won't even touch it. They'll say, take it to the dealer. And you know what they charge at the dealer. Now, in this case, I did a lot of testing. Drove it around. So as you can see, there's a lot of data that needs to be looked at while the car's being driven. I was able to do a bunch of actuation tests to see if the solenoid valves are working right and what kind of data's in it. And unfortunately, in the case of this one, there were no error codes for the transmission. The data was all relatively normal. So I thought, well, I know how these things are. I took a sample of the transmission fluid. Now, it's a sealed transmission, so even that was a pain in the butt. There's no dipstick. I had to go under, open up some stuff and take a sample. And I took it to a good friend of mine who analyzes oil. He said that there was too much metal in the oil, meaning parts of the transmission were starting to wear out. It hasn't yet tripped any codes, and the adaptations so far are normal for a 12-year-old BMW. But this tells me transmission's starting to wear out. Oil analysis is a great tool for seeing what kind of a shape a vehicle is in. Both engine, transmission, differential, whatever. When it's analyzed by somebody who knows what they're talking about, they're going to find it out, and you can know ahead of time. It's a good predictor. So in this case, the occasional missed shift and stuff, hey, that's a sign of internal wear. When I checked those solenoids driving around, we'd activate them, they were all working, and there weren't any codes for any of them going bad. It's starting to wear out. Now for this particular one, it's 12 years old, BMW offers what they call a fully remanufactured factory transmission. It's about $6,500. And with labor, at least at the BMW dealer, that's pretty close to what the two turbos cost to go. $7,000 something. You buy a beautiful looking car like this, used, you are playing with dynamite. You never know what's going to blow and when it's going to go. Yes, the Germans put in interesting technology. These lower profile tires, they really handle well. But being lower profile, guess what? In the city, these things are destroyed. The rims get destroyed. All that stuff costs a small fortune when it goes out. Now that technology is fine at the racetrack because racetracks are pretty smooth. They go really fast. They make them well. They're smooth. They don't have giant potholes in them, curbs that you're going to smash into. And this particular model being a beautiful convertible, there are convertible modes. There's a module for the convertible top, fault codes. You can even read the data stream of the convertible system. We are talking uber rocket science technology, even on a convertible top system for this thing. Now, maybe you just love the technology of one of these things. If you really love it and have to have it, take Scotty's advice. Lease one. Don't buy it. If you feel you can afford the lease payments, you're not going to have to repair the thing. You don't have to worry about all that stuff. Something breaks. They generally don't break that fast. If you look at their insanely low resale value, I mean, this thing was well over $40,000 new, and when it had 40,000 miles, it went for $13,500. There's a reason behind that low resale value. And if you would have bought it new and then sold it to somebody with 40,000 miles and lost $30-something thousand on the deal, you'd have wished, hey, I should have leased that thing. I shouldn't have bought it. Now, I do have to say, I have customers with BMWs that are totally happy with the cars, but most of them are doctors, lawyers. They lease the vehicle under a business scenario where it's pre-tax money, so they don't have to pay tax on some of their salary, or the business itself is leasing it and they're getting the car for free. What do they care? One, their doctors and lawyers have tons of money, and two, It's a business write-off. But if you're counting your pennies and you're thinking about buying one of these things used, my advice is just keep saying to yourself, endless money pit, endless money pit, endless money pit. I had a mechanic friend years ago. Met in an auto parts store one day, and he said, hey, look at this great deal I got on this BMW for one of my customers. He didn't want me to fix it anymore, so he sold it to me at a really good price. Well, the problem with my friend there was he mainly worked on American cars. He didn't know that much about BMWs. I saw him about a year later, and I said, how's that BMW working out for you? He said, that plastic piece of crap, I got rid of it last month. I couldn't stand it anymore. All the plastic stuff kept breaking, the parts cost a fortune. I'll never buy another one of those. And this is a mechanic. Granted, he worked mainly on American cars. He liked the look of a BMW convertible and thought, oh, what a cool car. But in the long run, not so cool. And if you're thinking about getting a diesel BMW here in the United States, realize hardly anybody knows how to work on the things. And of course, the parts cost a small fortune, but they are probably the most complex diesel systems out there. When I get them in here, invariably, after I scan it, tell the customer, well, here's what we're going to start with. They say, I'm just going to get rid of the thing. I'm sick of this car anyways. Now, yes, they are beautiful cars, but sometimes beauty can be deceiving. So unless you like expensive, aggravating cars as they age, my advice, stay away from BMWs. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.